Western Reserve University School of Medicine in Cleveland, Ohio. This is the All Access Med School Admissions Podcast. Hello again, everybody. I'm your host, Christian Essman, and it's good to be with you again. And I wanted to bring you a kind of a back-to-school episode. And because I know at the time I'm recording this, it is mid to late August, and we have a lot of students who are going to be entering college for the first time or they're returning. And so I wanted to tap into some sage advice from pre-health advisors. So I got in contact with one of our pre-health advisors at our very own Case Western, and so you could hear her voice and her advice. And then at the end of this episode, we turned the tables, and she asked me some burning questions from an advisor's perspective I think you'll be interested in. So let me tell you about who's joining me today. The other voice you'll be hearing is that of Alexis Catanzarite. And Alexis holds her master's in rhetoric and composition from the University of Kansas, where she also served as the senior pre-medical advisor for 4 years before coming to Cleveland, Ohio, and working at Case Western Reserve University. She did that in 2019 as the pre-health advisor. She's now the Associate Director of Healthcare Careers at Case Western and is very passionate about empowering students pursuing careers in medicine and healthcare through holistic advising. And I think you'll hear this when you hear her speak. Additionally, Alexis most enjoys helping students understand how to effectively tell stories that express their motivation and passion for pursuing medicine when they are ready to apply. And I think you'll hear that come across too. So with that, let's jump right into my conversation with Alexis, and I hope we get a lot of good advice out of this one and get you excited and ready for another year of college. Enjoy. Well, welcome, Alexis. Thank you so much for joining me. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks so much for the invite.
Well, I'm really excited to talk to you. I've been really impressed, as I have a lot of other people who have read your LinkedIn posts. They're very well thought out pieces and advice. And well, you've seen the likes and the comments. And so I was thrilled, and I was like, kind of smack my hand to the forehead. Like, I have somebody right here in our backyard that's an expert in pre-health advising. And so I've been making more of an effort to bring more pre-health advisor voices to my podcast. So I'm really grateful that you have taken some time to join me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
So this is kind of the back to school episode. We're recording this in early August, and we did a little prep beforehand and came up with some topics that, as an advisor, we thought would be helpful for either if you're a freshman and you're just starting school, or returning students to think about as you get back into the swing, or you're just getting into the swing of what college is like as a pre-med / pre-health student. So that's why I asked you to be here. And then we're going to talk about some of those topics. And then maybe about halfway through, Alexis is going to turn the tables on me. And she has some questions that she's going to ask me. So we'll kind of go back and forth here. But I wanted to start off with something that made me kind of chuckle when we were looking at our notes, and you said there's something I refer to as September creep that I talk about, and I wanted to share. Can you start off saying a little bit more about what is September creep?
Yeah, no, I think it's important. It's real, and it's coming for you, right? Whether you're, coming back, you're in your first year, you're coming back in your second year, your third year, or maybe you're a freshman who's just starting for the first time. I think at the beginning of the fall semester, especially every academic year, there is something that I kind of refer to as this illusion of free time, right? Where things are kind of starting off kind of slow
because you get a syllabus week kind of thing.
Exactly. You get the syllabus. You're starting to orientate yourself to the semester. Maybe you're not really heavy into, writing papers if that is something that's important to your major yet, or you haven't really started with all of the quiz work. You're laying a lot of content foundation in academics. And I think sometimes that makes it seem like outside of the classroom, you have all of this possibility of I could do X, I could do Y. And so you start committing to these clubs, you start committing to these volunteer opportunities. Maybe you're looking for a job. And then the September creep comes for you and you wake up and it's the third week of the semester and it's exam time. And you realize that all of that free time that you felt like you had to commit to all of these things was actually supposed to be used mostly, right, for preparing for that third week, that fourth week where your first exams hit. And then you're like, I got to course correct immediately. Right. So I call it that September creep because you're not really thinking about that yet until you absolutely have to. And now you're in it.
So what is your advice for mitigating September creep and not overcommitting, but you still want to be, maybe there are some things you'd like to try that you didn't try last year, or you're a freshman and you have this whole smorgasbord of organizations and activities that the admissions group, when you were applying, were crowing about and telling you all these things you're able to do. How do you mitigate that or find that balance? What do you tell you?
Yeah, I mean, and I think balance is the point, right? It can't be all or nothing either way. It can't be 100%. You're just thinking about classes and you're not thinking about anything else. It can't be 100%. You're shirking your studying, you're shirking your exam prep, and you're not thinking about things outside of the classroom. Balance is the key. So, I think that everybody's brain works differently. And I think that everybody has different habits that are maybe best for them. But for me, I always like to tell our students, it's really important to be proactive in that early stage of the semester as you're getting your syllabi in the first week, as you're taking a look at what your academic schedule is going to look like. Plug those exams into a Google Calendar or into an app that really works for you and plan backwards from those exams is the way I like to kind of think about it, so that you feel confident whenever you have an opportunity to volunteer at the hospital, to shadow, to join a club, saying, okay, I can definitely do this on Mondays because I know I'm already planning Tuesday nights is going to be my time to study for this class or my time to prep for this session that's coming up. I think if you do that, it's really easy for you to be a lot more realistic about the things that you can fit in around your academics.
What are those conversations? How do they unfold when students come to your office and they're in the third, fourth week of September or maybe it's post first exam and they're like, oh my gosh, I just bombed it.
Yeah.
What do those conversations sound like?
I think it depends on where people are in their processing of what happened. I think that if it is something that has just happened, maybe for the first time, first year students especially are coming in, and we have really exceptional students at Case Western Reserve University. I think they're coming in sometimes for the first time and realizing a little too late that how they manage their time and how they manage their studying and approach that isn't going to work exactly the way it did for them in high school. It's not going to work the same way here. So I think sometimes it's just sitting with them and giving them that space to just talk through that on their own. Because I like to give people ideas for solutions, but I also don't want to, kind of minimize the way they're feeling, if that makes sense. So just kind of sitting with them and being like, yeah, this is a challenge. I understand that. Like, tell me more about what you're thinking as it relates to what you could have done differently before. Like, how are you going to mitigate this moving forward, right? What are some action steps we can come up with together to see if that helps you moving forward to handle this a little bit differently? I think that's important. But yeah, I think that most of the time, whenever people get to that point, they know.
They know they need to kind of change tack.
Yeah, they know the ball was dropped, right? They kind of recognize and they look back and they're like, yeah, I'm not really sure what I was doing, thinking I could be on 4 different exec boards at the same time. Yeah.
What about the student FOMO? You have you see students come in and you're telling them like, you're not giving, like you said, you're offering solutions, but not telling them what to do. Yeah. But you might be kind of saying in a way like, maybe need to back off, but they are saying like, but everybody else is doing these things. if I don't do them, I'm not going to be competitive, or I'm not going to, reach my goals.
Yeah, I think it's really tempting to say yes to every single opportunity that you get, especially when you're doing something like pursuing a career in medicine, where you have a strong work ethic, right? You have drive, you have ambition, but saying yes isn't necessarily ambition all the time. Sometimes it's just saying yes and mismanaging your time and not being able to give 100% of yourself to all of those things that you're saying yes to. So, I think it's important to realize for students, to help them realize you don't need to say yes to every single opportunity. You're going to get a lot of offers to do really cool things in your life. You don't necessarily need to say yes to all of them. The ones that you need to say yes to are the ones that resonate with you, that you feel like are going to add something to you personally and professionally. Because I think that in this particular sphere, we can look at activities, leadership opportunities, jobs, kind of like got to do them all, got to collect them all. They're like Pokemon cards, right? But that's not realistic. And in the end, it's not going to help you, because that is the fastest track to burnout I've ever heard of. You do not want to burn out when you are a junior in undergrad. How are you going to get through to medical school or dental school? Like whatever your goal is, right? Like you need to learn now how to manage your time so you have more endurance for those things.
Mm-hmm. Two things I'm thinking of while you're saying that, Alexis, is one, about burnout. Med schools don't want you to come burned out.
No.
Like as much as you want to be there, we don't want you if you're already cooked and fried and crispy, because it doesn't get better. The volume of information and things you have to do doesn't decrease as a medical student. So we don't want you crispy and fried already. Yeah. And the second thing I was thinking about as you were speaking was, I've been on the other end of seeing essays. I've read too many essays, like on growth essays, where people have written like, I realized when I was an undergrad that I took on too much and I was spreading myself too thin to the point where I wasn't able to give all the organizations or clubs that I committed to. I was dropping the ball, and I was, paying Peter to pay Paul, kind of stealing from Peter to pay Paul kind of thing, from organization to organization. And then people were getting upset with me because I wasn't holding up my end of the deal. My commitments to this had to, be given to that group. And so it's like a cautionary tale. Like this has happened. Yeah. And you don't want to be you want to try to avoid being on that end where maybe that essay you write about someday was about like how you had to figure out you let people down because you said yes too much. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that, to your point, it's important to uphold your commitments. It's important to show up. It's important to be consistent and reliable. Those are things that you have to be in healthcare. It's good for you to learn to be those things and to demonstrate those things now. But I think it's also important, for you to show up to yourself and to uphold that commitment to yourself. And sometimes that means, taking a break. Sometimes it means going out to dinner with your friends. Sometimes it means prioritizing that piece that helps you rest and rejuvenate, because I always like to tell our students, rest is not a reward. Rest is a requirement. You have to have it to be an okay person, right? If you're not well, you're not going to do things well. So it's important for you to take care of yourself and all of that, because I feel like that is really easy to lose sight of too.
Yeah, I'm still on thinking about past applications and stuff, just seeing how students had learned the hard way that it's you're disappointing people when you say yes too much, and they don't think you're important, because you are the head of 4 clubs, but yet you keep canceling on us for certain meetings and things like that. You're not that important.
It's at this stage, right? It's not life or death.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It will be okay. And that's an important growing moment, right? You talked about these are part of their growth essays. Yeah. That's a difficult conversation you're going to have. You're going to have a lot of difficult conversations in this profession. Start learning to have them.
Yeah, it's like having, the group of friends that you always go out to dinner, and there's that one friend who says yes all the time, and then at the last minute they don't show up, or they at the last minute like, oh, sorry guys, I can't come, like because I got this, like that, and you're always like, then you get annoyed by them, like, well, they're never going to come because they always bail the last minute, and it's the same kind of thing in my mind.
It's the same kind of, what's funny? That makes me think. So we're doing mock interviews right now, like interview season. It's happening. It's starting. It's here. And I always like to ask, our applicants, how do you like to spend your free time? What do you like to do for fun? And sometimes, I like to do XYZ with my friends. I like to do, whatever. But sometimes I'll have people who just look at me so confused. Like their eyes are like glazing over.
That's the question that stumped you.
Yeah. Or it's just like, well, I don't have free time. And I don't know if that is coming from, if that's true, like we're going to talk a little bit more later, because that is not okay. Or if that's coming from a place of like, I'm going to impress you so much with my work ethic and tell you I do nothing to engage with other people or, for my well-being. Like, to me, again, like I'm not sitting on an admissions committee. You are, but that just tells me like you are not you're not going to be able to sustain that level of productivity, that level of work. That's concerning. I'm
thinking years ago, I still remember I was interviewing this guy and his application was chock full of things. I mean, it looked like he had no time to do anything else. I said, well, hey, listen, what do you do for fun? What do you do in your free time? He's like, well, I go to the lab. And I said, okay, let's pretend just for conversation that the lab's locked. And you can't go to, he's like, well, I have a key. Okay. Just for conversation, let's just say
hypothetically,
just throwing this out there. Let's say the lab is closed, place is locked down, and you don't have the key. They redid the locks for some reason. What would you find yourself doing?
Where do you go?
What would you be doing? And it was kind of the same response. Like, what do you mean? I mean, that's the question that stumped you. Like that's a little concerning, right?
Yeah, no, that's raising a couple of red flags for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so I will just say this because I know people really hang on to a lot of our words, but I mean, is that a red flag? Maybe it's an orange flag in the context of a whole interview, right? But it might be an orange or yellow flag. But I think the point has come across.
Yeah.
But people take time for yourself, like build in some me time to do something. Yeah. Whether it's by yourself, you like to go for a walk or a run or something, or it's socializing with friends and doing things like that.
Yeah. I mean, if this is anything, it's a marathon. You're doing this over a long period of time. You can't do all of the things that I know are on your to-do list if you aren't also like going to a movie just to unwind. You got to do something for you.
Yep. Agreed. So you have some first years coming in soon, just the cycle of life is continuing again.
I'm sure we have a few,
in a few weeks. And so what do you wish first years would know coming in? Or what's some of the things that you share with your freshmen when you get your hands on them during Discovery Week and orientation time that would be helpful to people that are listening that might be incoming freshmen?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, I feel like my answer to this question makes me feel like I'm like catfishing students, because I know whenever they come to open houses and we talk about, these are all the things you're going to have to do for pre-med. You need to be involved in X, you need to do Z, you need to do all of these things. And then whenever they get here, it's sort of just the message that we like to give is you need to take a deep breath. You need to focus on finding some friends. Find that place that you love to eat. You need to focus on relearning how to study, because you may not have needed to study before, to be honest, or you're going to need to figure out how to study differently because it's not necessarily going to translate. But you need to do those three things, and you don't really need to be focused on like, how am I going to get into a research lab in my first semester of college? Sure, you can do that, but the ability maybe to do something doesn't mean you should do something. So I think it's all about setting up that good, healthy foundation. And once you feel like you have a handle on things in the classroom, once you feel like you have people that you can talk to and vent to who get you, I think it's easier to add on to your plate. But if you're trying to start from 0 and then go immediately to 100 and doing a bunch of things, it's kind of like we've been talking about this whole time. That's not necessarily going to go very well. It's not going to be a recipe for starting off on the note that I know everybody wants to start off on, which is strong, right? Like, you want to start strong in the beginning, start strong in the classroom. Start strong with building a community for yourself. If you can do those things, you can get out there and you can start shadowing, you can start volunteering, you can start being part of clubs. Doing all of those things week 1, no, that is not the goal at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what, as we said earlier, the freshmen come in and they remember all the amenities the admissions team told them about in the last few months. And I might recommend, like, again, not first week stuff, but find maybe some low commitment club kind of thing, some opportunity, maybe some one-off things to kind of dip your toe into, that you don't feel like you have to just dive right in. Again, as you're speaking, I was thinking back, my son he was a freshman last year, and that is what happened to him. Like, he got to school, he had to kind of find a friend group. He had to, because everybody's got to make new friends. And so he found kind of a friend group, guys to hang out with. And then classes really started to really get into the grind. And then he had to figure out how to study differently and the rigor that was required. And it was very different than high school. And so as you were talking, like, gosh, I just saw this a year ago unfold in front of our eyes for the first 5 or 6 weeks. I
mean, and this is the thing that's universal, right? There are no exceptions to this. You can be the brightest, the most brilliant, the most well-adjusted, capable person, but different is different. This is different no matter what. So you need to give yourself some grace and some time to really accept that and kind of learn what you don't know in order to feel comfortable operating in this new space, in this new environment, and then really dig in.
It changes emotionally, academically, psychologically, socially. All these changes are happening at once. When you get plopped into a college campus. And it is, so I guess our point is, take it easy on yourself. Give yourself some grace. And don't feel like you...
And believe your advisor whenever they tell you that.
That's right. Yeah. and believe me when I say, like, the stuff you do in the first month is not going to get you into med school. It really isn't. I mean, like, it's just, you're just dipping your toe into stuff. And so we'll talk about, like, grade trends in a little bit when you turn the tables on me. But I think that I'm glad I came up with that, is to say the stuff that you do in the first month of college is not going to get you into med school.
And you're not going to remember. Let's be honest. Right? You're not.
Yeah. That's not going to be the opening sentence usually of any of your essays is like, anyway. But how about, so students are getting on campus. There are all kinds of support systems and services available to students. Where do you start with your recommendations about academic support and tapping into the advising offices and things like that?
Yeah. I mean, for academic support, I think that it's really, really important whenever you have resources like supplemental instruction offered, whenever you have peer tutoring groups, whenever you have an office that is just focused on supporting you academically through that kind of ancillary instruction, there's no reason not to take advantage of that. Even if you feel like, I don't need this. Maybe you don't need it right now. Maybe you don't need it in this specific moment. But if you need it in 2 months, is 2 months too late? Right? Like, I think that you need to start taking advantage of those things. And that is part of that conversation that we've been having about, like, you need to develop healthy, new, sometimes study habits. That's part of that. So, I think taking advantage of that. And I think becoming involved in student groups, like you were saying, get involved in a few things. You're going to meet people who have been there, done that, lived it, learned it. You're going to find mentors in that space if you engage them right? Like, you got to put yourself out there and you got to initiate that. And student groups are a really good way to do that, because you found someone by default who cares about what you care about, who likes what you like. So there's already that natural connection that you don't really need to, like, you're not cold emailing somebody. You're not reaching out to an office where you don't know anybody and you don't have any real connection. Take advantage of those people who have already gone through this. What do they wish that they knew, right? They've lived it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would recommend too, and a lot of times some classes offer informal group studies that meet at the library or in a particular spot in a building kind of thing, to go make yourself go to those. Yeah. Because to your point, you may not need it right away, because like, I've had this stuff. I had a little bit of AP of it in high school or something, but it's the connections you make so that when it gets deeper in the semester and now the material has taken a turn that you've not seen before, having a friend group or like people that you know in class, you guys can, crowdsource some stuff and have some collective wisdom to try to get through this together, versus not talking to anybody in the first 6 or 8 weeks of class, and then it gets tough, and now you're by yourself. Yeah. And you want to feel, you really should have a team or a network around you. Just think of that for each of your classes. It's not just being strategic, it's being healthy.
Yeah, no, there are no gold stars for struggling through something by yourself if you don't have to. So that's where I think those things are important. And that's where I think it's really important too, to take advantage of office hours. Like, you need to start connecting with your professors now, early, even if it feels weird, even if you feel like you're bothering them. First of all, you're not. That's why office hours exist. They're there for you to take advantage of. But, you need to start learning how to talk to faculty, because you're going to need faculty in your corner, right, when the time comes. So you need to start learning how to develop those relationships in a way that's really thoughtful and, authentic to you.
Yeah. And because it's really easy to go through 4 years of undergrad and not make a connection with any of your instructors. Yeah. That's really easy to do.
It's so easy to do. And it's so painful for me to see students in that position whenever we're talking about, hey, you're talking about applying, who's advocating for you in this process? I'm strategically planning this with you. I'm your soundboard. I'm telling you about processes and timelines and things you need to know about. But who's championing you in a letter of recommendation? You're going to need a few. And it's so sad to me whenever, students are like, I don't know. My lecture classes were big. You know what? Everybody's lecture classes are big, unfortunately. But you need to put yourself out there now so that you don't have that problem later. Yeah.
And that is, wouldn't it be nice not only to get a supportive letter of rec from an instructor that you formed a relationship with, that you also, after you leave, you might still be in touch with them a little bit from time to time, or your paths cross, or they check in with you to see how you're doing. I've seen that happen. Yeah. And that's one thing that can come out of being in school for 4 years, is that you will have made a connection with somebody at your school that they want to stay in touch with you and follow your successes. And I've seen it. My daughter, who's in college, and she started going to office hours, and it paid off later in the year when she struggled on exam. Then she went back in, and the professor said, "Here's what you need to do for the next time to improve." And it just gave her those little nuggets of wisdom. And the next time she did much better on the next exam. So but otherwise, had she not gone in and received just that personal, hey, I care. I realize I didn't do well in the last exam. I need your help. And that's what they love to hear. And okay, this is a student who cares.
They do, because it takes so much strength and so much vulnerability to go to somebody in a position of power, right? Like, faculty are in a position of power over you as a student, and say, I don't get it. I need help with this. They recognize that. That's really brave. That's really hard to do. And I think that things can happen in those office hours that will extend beyond that, right? It will extend beyond what's going on in the classroom. Maybe this leads to you getting to know this faculty member better, and maybe you become a TA for them, or maybe they're having somebody roll out of their research lab and you might be a really good fit.
Exactly.
It all connects.
Exactly. It could pay off. And again, not having to be strategic, but you never know.
Yeah.
They might be like, hey, to your point, like, hey, they might put something under your nose. Like, hey, there's this cool thing that you should check out. I thought I'd pass it along to you so you came to mind because you stopped in my office a couple times.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it takes sometimes.
Yeah.
What about, like pre-med advising offices for schools that have these kind of support systems? What's your advice for pre-med students and with regards to relationship with an office like yours?
Yeah, I mean, so I think that it's important to know that it's structured differently everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Pre-med advising might live in academic departments. It might be its own office. It might be in a career center. They might have lots of group programming. It might just be a lot of one-on-one meetings. But I would say whatever is on offer for you there, take advantage of it early, because it's kind of like with faculty, right? You're building those relationships. Build your relationship with that office so that you can have really intentional, really productive advising meetings with them when you really need them. And you're not starting from zero and introducing yourself as a third year student. You've been going to their programs, or you've been meeting with somebody on that team once a semester to talk about, this is what I've done so far. These are my goals moving forward. What's some advice that you have? What are some opportunities that maybe I should be aware of? Some groups I should connect with, some faculty I should know about. Like, they're connected. Your pre-med advising team is so embedded, not just in the university, but in the community that your university is in, right? Like, they know things that you don't know. And you're never going to know them if you don't take advantage of that, right? So I would say start laying that foundation early, and it's just going to keep snowballing. You're just going to keep learning more. You're going to see things that you hadn't thought about yet come up in those big group workshops, or you're just going to be in their office having an advising meeting, and it's going to be like that faculty moment we just talked about, where they're going to say, oh, I just had a PI reach out. I was going to send this email out later, but hey, like, maybe you want to take advantage of this, right? Like, get to know them and build your network there.
Yeah, I'm frequently kind of blown away when I speak with some prospective applicants and we start talking about, it comes up that they didn't take advantage of some of the workshops that, say, their particular school's advising office offered, like a personal statement writing workshop, or they bring in people like me to come to campus and meet them and talk about their school and get tips and advice. I'm blown away by how students don't prioritize some of those things or just take advantage of them. And even if you go, usually it's like a half hour, maybe an hour out of your day. What's the worst that could come out of it? It's
so low commitment.
Yeah, what's the worst that could come out of it?
I would like you to come prepared.
I knew everything that guy talked about. So,
no. I mean, I would like you to come prepared. I would like you to come with an agenda if we're going to have a one-on-one meeting. But what's the worst thing that's going to happen if you come in and you don't have an agenda? We're still going to talk anyway. You're going to think of questions as we're talking that you hadn't thought about before you got there. Like, we're not hiding from you, Like, we're here because you need us to be here. It's definitely up to you to initiate that relationship, though.
I think you could easily spend an hour scrolling on your phone.
Oh, yeah. Guilty.
I bet we could, collectively in a day, you probably spend more than an hour, some people do, scrolling on your phone. And so if you say that, well, I just don't have time, or that I don't have an hour in my day to do it, I call baloney.
No. I mean, it's as we think about this whole process, right? And I talk to students about, the activities section of their application. I tell them, what you're putting on your application in the space is telling medical schools how you prioritize your time, how you value your time. And if this is coming up as one of those things where it's like, if this isn't something you're prioritizing or something you're valuing, I've got questions, right? Like, I really do.
Let's see. I was going to add into that, because you're saying that how pre-med advising offices, like they put together these things, and we've been talking about resources and the faculty. And this to me is like a lot. This is what you're paying for. When you go to college.
This is the only thing I do. This is my whole career.
Exactly.
This is people's whole careers.
Yes. I mean, so when people say, what am I paying for? Well, it's the education that you're getting in the classroom, but it's also all these other things that are around you, the advising people, the folks that are in the registrar's office, and that you will tap into from time to time. But this is what you're paying for.
Yeah. Yeah, this is part and parcel of everything.
Okay, this is like dad talking to my kids. Like, guys, go see these people because this is what we're paying for. Yep. We have 2 kids in college. Like, this is what we're paying for. Go do these things. So I'll take my dad hat off, but
you're paying for the advising, whether you use it or not. You're paying for these supplemental instruction sessions, whether you use them or not. You're paying a student activities fee, even if you aren't involved in any student activities. Why don't you just take advantage of some of those things?
Yep. That way, when you leave, you can say, I put as much into that as I got out of it. Like, I took advantage of everything. Like, when they say free t-shirt, like,
I want that shirt.
And it's not really free, but like, it's like, I tell my kid, go get the free t-shirt. Yeah. Like, oh, Dad, I don't need another. Like, yeah, just go get it. But they're tired of hearing it from me. Bring it home and your dad will wear it or mom will wear it. So
I love that.
When I paint or something like that. What about another service that's important, like mental health services? Yeah. I think this has been really, in the last few years, kind of been a focal point for a lot of universities and colleges and expanding these services and destigmatizing these kind of things. How do you talk to your students about these kind of services?
So that's a good question. And it's definitely something that can be tough, right? Especially if I don't know that student very well. And this is maybe our first meeting, but I'm kind of picking up on, some wellness concerns that I have just based on information that they're sharing or based on just how they're presenting themselves. I might just ask, if it seems like they're going through a hard time, like who's in your network supporting you? Who are you able to talk to about this? And sometimes they share that they do have, a really strong community. And even if they do, I say, I don't know if you're aware, because sometimes it feels like students aren't. We're talking about all of these things that are here. It's totally valid to not know every single thing that your university has to offer you. So sometimes I say, are you aware? It's just this next building over. There are some people that you could talk to there. I'd be happy to walk you over there. I'd be happy to shoot an email and connect you with somebody there. But if that's something you're interested in, I think it's something that could be really helpful, and try to gauge it that way. But it's a sensitive thing, right? But I think that just putting that out there, and when you do that too, it kind of reminds the student, if they're ready to share things that are really intense, I'm ready to listen. Always. That's my job. I'm here to listen, but I'm not necessarily, I don't have that training. I don't have that background to offer the level of support that's needed in that particular moment. And I want to be able to get them to those people that have that background. So I think it's kind of reminding them that I'm here, but there are other people here that can help you with this too.
I think it's really important. And like I said a few moments ago, and you probably see this during Discovery Week kind of thing, activities, that the mental health services has become more upfront, along with other advising or other departments that are out there than they have been in the past, and which is really great and cool. Like that people are prioritizing that to say, hey, there's nothing wrong with raising your hand and saying I need a little help right now. And to come back to what I said earlier, that when you get plopped at a new college and university, all these changes are going on academically, socially, psychologically, emotionally. And you're going through a lot of changes as a young adult, physiologically, you're still growing. And so things can change as you still grow and mature, that sometimes you just need somebody to help you along a little bit. It's may not be forever, but
no,
just tap into some assistance.
Yeah. And it's inevitably it's going to happen, whether you need that level of support or not, but like, you're going to go through a tough time. Yeah. You're going to go through a difficult time. You're human. That is the human experience. But just because it's hard now doesn't mean it's going to stay hard. It's just about getting what you need to move forward through that situation. And that can look different for different people, but I think there's a lot of power in just knowing what you can do and who you can go to.
Mm-hmm. To kind of wrap up my questions for you, lastly, what kind of time management or organizational tools do you put under the noses of your advisees?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I'm a huge calendar person. I'm very much an advocate for I need to be reminded in 15 minutes that my focus needs to shift. Now, you may not feel that way. You may find that you like to operate in some other kind of capacity as far as managing your time, but I think that's a really good basic way to start. And I think once you try something, whether it's another time-saving app, you might find what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and you can move on to something else that might fit you better. But I like to start basic with them. You're going to have a calendar when you're a physician, right? Mm-hmm. That's how you're going to move through your day, right? Get familiar with some of these things now.
Yeah, to your point about find something that works for you or experiment with something, whether it's digital or it's old school pen and paper.
You can notebook it. Yeah.
My daughter buys a hard copy planner every year. It's just her thing that she's done. And she just likes to write things down. And I think putting pen to paper for her helps her remember things. And it's that act, but she doesn't get the bing that, 10 minutes from now, you have to be at this Zoom meeting or something. Right. But I'm saying this and I'm emphasizing what you said because this may come up when you eventually go to apply to med school. Oh, yeah. And because one thing a lot of med schools now are talking about more openly are how do we measure an applicant's level of executive functioning? And what I mean by that is organizational skills, reliability, and follow through, time management. Now, why is this important? Because, again, medical school moves at a much faster pace, and you're really an adult at that point. Most med students are 22, 23, and there's a lot of higher expectations professionally on medical students. And, you have to check your email as a student, whether you're undergrad or a med student. And that is just a way people communicate. And if you say, I didn't check my email, doctors have to check their email.
Doctors have, that's 100% right. And if I had to pick a pet peeve, right, of mine, it would be, checking your email. You have to check your email. I am going to send you a lot of emails as the leader of our pre-med advising team. You're going to get a lot from me. You're going to get a lot from everywhere. It is not going to slow down ever. You need to figure out how to manage that because not managing it is not an option. You're going to miss deadlines. You're going to miss announcements. You're going to miss opportunities that would have been perfect for you if you don't figure this out soon.
Yeah. And whether you end up going into medicine or your career path changes, I will almost bet that email will be the main form of communication. Yeah. Whether you're going into work for a bank or a school or a corporate, insert something. Yeah, that is the acceptable form of communication. And
to that point, I would like to point out, I feel like maybe our students would disagree. I feel like I send a lot of reminder emails. I'll send an announcement about something and then I'll keep doing it and I'll keep doing it because I know it's important and I need them to be there and I need them to take advantage of it. Whatever it is we're talking about. That is not the way it will work, though. Whenever you get to that stage in your professional career, you're going to get an email about something once and that's it. right? You need to figure this out now.
So I think med schools are looking for people that have built these kind of, I'm using air quotes, like professional behaviors, because that for us are transferable skills.
Yep.
Not just for med school again, but, and in my context of what we do, we're looking for students that will have those kind of skills that we can rely that they're going to read emails and not need to be reminded and found in the courtyard and, like, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of you kind of thing.
No, that's not reality. People are not going to chase you down.
Yeah. So it seems like an easy thing, but it's about behavior change. It's about behavior change. It's
learning a new behavior. I agree. So it's much easier said than done. I will grant you that. But if this is still something that you are engaging in, it's avoidance is what it is. You're avoiding this for whatever reason that might be. If you're still doing that in your third year, your fourth year, that is going to be a rude awakening at some point if it hasn't been already. Yep.
You can't just stick your head in the sand and say you're too busy to look at email. It is one thing, okay, dad had again, say to our kids, like, your job is to be a student.
Yeah.
That's now all this other stuff, the clubs and if you want to work part-time and all that, that's extra. But your job when you're there is to be a student. And part of your job is to check email. Like, that's just what jobs have to do these days. So this is just a part of your job as a student. So just figure out a time in your day you need to check email to stay on top of stuff, because you might miss out on an important opportunity or some important deadline. Okay, getting off my dad's soapbox. Let's turn the tables here, Alexis.
All right.
I want to hear some rapid fire from you.
So I'm excited about this because I feel like a lot of these questions. Yeah, you should. Because I feel like a lot of these questions I get from students and all of us pre-med advisors get, and we're answering on behalf of you, the admissions committees of the universe. So I'm excited to put them to you so we can reinforce these things together.
Great. I'll do my best.
All right.
To speak on behalf of the nation of medical school.
Absolutely. You're speaking for everyone at this point. I hope you're prepared. So do you have to have a 4.0 when you apply to medical school and to get accepted to medical school? Is it all A's or nothing?
The short answer is no.
Okay.
Look at schools' average GPAs of their matriculating classes, and I don't know that there's a school that has an average, like the average entering class GPA is 4.0. Now, do a lot of students have 4.0s that go to med school? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of smart people that, but my point is, if you roll out of your first semester of freshman year with a C in Gen Chem, all is not lost. Okay. If you roll out of your freshman year with a C in Gen Chem 1 and 2, I'll even go as far to say all is not lost. But
go ahead. Yeah.
But we want to see then things start to kind of click sophomore year.
Yeah.
And when you move, maybe you do much better. You get B's and A minuses in OChem, and then you get the biochem. Biochem's important because not only is it on the MCAT, but you will see biochemistry as a medical student. And if by that point you've kind of got it figured out, you got C's when you're a freshman, B's and A minuses when you're a sophomore, and you're rocking an A in biochem as a junior, like that would kind of be a signal to us, like, okay, like they've figured it out.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's so important for, students to hear from you specifically, because I know we talk with students about a lot, like, it's not about perfection. It's not. It's about progress and it's about growth. And nobody expects you to get every single thing right on the first try. So if you do end up with that C in Gen Chem, that doesn't mean you're not going to be a doctor. That doesn't mean you can't do this.
Oh my gosh, Alexis, let me tell you, we just started reviewing applications for this next cycle. I'm
exciting.
I know, but we're already we see a grid, a GPA grid, and freshman year, because it's broken down by freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. And freshman year is not a 4.0. That is not uncommon. And I have to think, though, that these are highfalutin high school students that were top of the class. And then they get to college, and that first semester, it does not go the way they hoped. Yeah. And there are some tough days and some eating some humble pie after an exam. And I have to believe there's self-doubt creeps in. Like, am I going to be able to do this? Am I ever going to go to med school after just got a D, my first D on this, test. And it does work. It works out for a lot of people. Yeah. Your freshman year does not have to be a 4.0.
Yeah. Your freshman year is not necessarily going to define your entire life.
No.
So, yeah.
Point is, give yourself a break. But you can't. Now, don't just hear what I say and go like, okay, I'll be fine. And if I get that D, it'll work itself out. Like, no, you have to then do the hard work and figure out, okay, right. Let's really examine, how did I prepare for this? Did I really prepare like the right way for this exam? Or do I need to change tack because I was studying the way I studied in high school for this exam? And now this was a wake up call that I need to really rethink how I'm studying and go to those SIs and go join the study group and go to office hours and whatever. Yep. I mean, that's where the real work comes in, but you have to be willing to, be open to changing rethinking the way you study and prepare.
100%. And I think that this is a perfect example of a really good conversation to have with your pre-med advisor, to have with your pre-med advising team. Because whenever, you get that grade at the end of the semester, I know I have a lot of students come to us and their first question is, should I retake it? Do I need to retake it? And that's an obvious question, but there are so many other questions that lead to the answer to that question. Well, tell me about how we ended up here. Is it because you weren't managing your time well in the way we've been talking about this whole time? Is it because you're really actually struggling with the concepts and with the material in this class? Like, where is the point of struggle? If we don't know that, then I have no idea if you should retake it or not. Right? So that is definitely a conversation to have with your advising team. Okay.
Totally agree.
Perfect. All right. Next question. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What is a meaningful activity? What is a meaningful level of involvement in something? Because I know a lot of people want there to be a perfect formula for this process in terms of involvement. We want to check boxes, meet goals, move on, feel good about that. What does that look like from your perspective on an admissions committee?
Understand that for all your activities, when you fill out AMCAS, the primary application, you basically have to write mini essays for the activities that you participated in when you were an undergrad. And so you have a lot of room to write. And so meaningful can be, usually it's something that's probably more longitudinal than a few hours, semester kind of thing. Usually it typically feels more longitudinal. It's across a span of time that you started it at a certain point and you stayed with it for a while. Yeah. But when you were staying with it, maybe when we were reading about this, the applicant shares how they grew from it and what challenged them or what insights they gained or perspectives or how it opened their mind, meeting new people, whatever that kind of looks like. I think it's the way you write about these things that brings the meaningfulness out to us. If you just state the facts that I attended this organizational meeting twice a month and my role eventually became to be the secretary, well, that's kind of all I get.
Yeah. Great.
But they give you 750 characters to go into a little more opportunity to then tell us a story or reflect on it. Like, and I realized going back there was really good for me because I met people from different backgrounds and experiences and opened my mind up. I never met somebody from Los Angeles before. And now they're my best friend, whatever that looks like. But that's where the meaningfulness comes in. Yeah. Less so like maybe the title of like if it became leadership, if you got to be on the exec board, great. But as I frequently say to people, there's a finite number of organizations and clubs that students can join. You can't all be the president or vice president of a club.
That's right.
So if that is not achieved, it's not a waste of time.
Yeah.
If you don't get elected to be the vice president or president of an organization, if you run for it, of course, you're going to feel disappointed. There's that aspect, but like, it's not like you wasted your time doing this and you're not a leader, quote unquote, a leader.
Yeah. I think that's so important because, it's really getting into, the thought behind what's the intention behind what you're doing, behind what you're engaging in, because basically nothing you do matters unless you can articulate that meaning, that value. If you can't explain that, if you can't first demonstrate those communication skills, but number two, if you can't tell somebody why that was such an important activity for you, demonstrate what you learned from it, the skills you acquired, how it helped you see something new or differently, well, so what? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I remember reading, this happens all the time, but when people do it really well, it's like, I joined the fencing club. And then I've read things where people say, I never knew how to fence, but my roommate was a fencer. And so he's like, hey, why don't you come with me to the club thing? And I'm like, I really don't know what I'm doing. Now to come on. Unless they write and say, I never knew what I was doing, but I learned how to fence. I met a whole group of people I'd never interacted with before. I never got really good at it, but I do know a little bit more about fencing and appreciate it. And I think there also a few things can come out of that. Like one, you're willing to open to try new things, growth mindset, meeting different people, expanding, kind of your worldview, and showing some vulnerability to say, in your med school application, like, I'm not perfect at this. Yeah. I'm not the best at this. And that is what I think a lot of times med schools value when they read things. Somebody says like, hey, I'm not perfect. Like, I joined the fencing club and I lost all my matches, but gosh, it was fun. And, and I'm okay with that because you're not going to be perfect at anything.
No.
Especially being a physician or a med student, you have to get comfortable with not being perfect. And if you try to come across as everything has been puppy dogs and rainbows for the last 4 years of undergrad, and I've made no mistakes and I've had no failures, I think that is what's going to raise maybe a little bit of an orange flag to med schools. Like, what happens when they get here and they fail?
Well, what happens when they get here when they fail? But also, do you even have self-awareness of the fact that you absolutely have definitely failed to this point? There's no way that you haven't.
No way.
How can you not know that and own it? Are you
lacking that? Are you avoiding that, saying that like I'm vulnerable? Like So it can almost kind of feel a little annoying. Like, really? Yeah. Like you've not made a mistake in the last 4. Everything's just been. I don't buy it.
No, and you know what? No one does. No. So I mean, honestly, I made 3 mistakes on the way to work today. Like, you're going to make mistakes.
So to answer your question, to come back to it, the meaningfulness will come out in the way you write about things. But I want to emphasize what you said. The intentionality is really important. What was your intentionality in doing this?
Yeah, because I think that, what we were talking about earlier, like, I'm going to do all these activities, I'm going to do all of these things. I think that sometimes people don't even really know why they're doing them. Like, they're not doing them because they really personally care, or it like resonates with their values or things that they want to do and grow. And it's just like, I feel like I got to do it.
Everybody else is going to the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I feel like cattle being like, moo, moo, like, all being pushed into, because everybody's following what they're doing. Like,
it's so true. So can I extend this and make it a little bit more specific? Because this is something that I know that I and every pre-med advisor everywhere answers ad nauseum all the time. What is the perfect number of hours for each activity?
We get this too. Because, people, we get it.
Yeah.
People want to know just what should I aim for?
What to work toward. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, people like to have something to kind of have a gauge on, like, well, what give me an idea what you're looking for. Yeah. This comes up a lot with shadowing numbers.
Oh yeah.
How many hours of shadowing should I have? I think that the short answer is like, well, more than like 8. 8 hours would be a day, right? So more than 8.
More than a day.
I looked at some data that we had recently. I think like our incoming class, the average, just for fun, like we're looking at it, was like 110 or 120 hours of shadowing was the average that our incoming class had. But the thing to kind of that starts to make it difficult when you just look at that on the surface is when you classify things in AMCAS, you can do shadowing. There is paid medical employment, so like scribing or clinical research coordinator, or there are other, like EMT can be a paid medical experience. So depending how it's categorized is where it can get kind of gray, because if you say, Christian, what's your average for a shadowing? And I say, well, it was 110. Well, then applicant thinks I have to get 110 shadowing hours. Well, not necessarily, because we had some students that may have had 75, but they had a part-time job as a clinical research coordinator, or they worked part-time as a scribe. We know they were getting, based on what we read, we know that they took away from those experiences what physicians do, and do they know what they're getting themselves into. So there's the numerics, but you lose there are other ways to like kind of to get those experiences, to get it expressed and show med schools that you know what you're getting yourself into. You understand the challenges and rewards and the successes and things like that of medicine. So it's hard to put numbers on things then.
It is. And I think
just shadowing. Yeah.
And I think that it gets back to, the point you made earlier about consistency and longitudinal growth, because, if you or anybody were to say, like, I think you should do X activity for 200 hours, but you do it all in like one semester, right? And you never do it again. Like, is that really demonstrating that that's something that you are prioritizing and it's something that you are growing in? I don't know, like maybe, possibly, but I think that's going to be maybe a hard case to make. So it's not about a magic number. Yeah,
there's all kinds of flavors this comes in, because depending on the types of resources that people have available to them, not everybody has 3-4 massive hospitals right near your campus that you can tap into or have a network to kind of get in on. But so some students have shadowing with like 1 or 2 physicians that's who they had access to. But I've seen other applicants who have written like in their shadowing things like that they did maybe like 16 hours with a rheumatologist and 17 hours with an orthopedist and 27 hours with a pediatrician and a geriatrician. It was broken down. So with each one of those physicians, it was, more than 8 hours. It was a little bit of time, but we then can kind of maybe during the interview, it might come out that I've seen medicine through different kinds of lenses. Yeah, I spent a little bit of time with a rheumatologist, which was very different than seeing medicine with an ophthalmologist. And so I've seen medicine through so you can frame it differently just based on what they had access to. So I'm not saying that you have to go get 110 hours with a rheumatologist, which is very specialized medicine. But I've seen applicants have like little boluses of shadowing hours, just different flavors. And it's the way you talk about it. It all goes back to the way you talk about it. It's a way
to talk about it. It's a way to demonstrate that you understand breadth, right? I agree. So one more thing that's on my mind, because I feel like every year more and more I'm having this conversation more frequently with students about gap years, growth years, however we want to label that time that we're talking about. I think that despite what we know data tells us about how common and normal those things are, there's still, there's that residual taboo that like, if I need this or if I take this, it means I'm deficient somehow. Like I didn't do what I was supposed to do in the time that I felt like I was supposed to do it in. What do you think gap years look like from an admissions committee perspective?
Many, many variables go into that. This actually was a topic that came up in another podcast episode I did with Darcy Holtgrave from Mizzou. We talked about gap years. And so if you're interested in, if people are listening and you want to go back and listen to that, I would highly recommend doing that too. But So yes, gap years have become quite popular. I think our incoming class, like 72% took a year or more after undergrad. We didn't necessarily screen for that. We interviewed a lot of candidates who were coming right out of undergrad. It's just the way the funnel kind of comes down to the end for enrollment. It's just what it looks like.
Yeah.
But I think a couple things, and this may have been a part of the conversation I had with Darcy, is that I think sometimes students worry, or their parents worry, if I don't go right into medical school, I'm going to lose my momentum. And I think if that's a concern, is medicine really what you want to do?
Yeah.
So if that's the concern, then maybe really having some soul searching is like, is this really what I want to do? Is this what I'm supposed to do? Or is this what I want to do? Like, I'm being kind of talked into doing medicine because I haven't really explored anything else. This is what I thought I wanted to do since I was in 7th grade, but have I really thought about what else is out there? So it's like the real thing you want to do and what you ought to do. So if that's a concern, then I think that takes some soul searching. But as we've been talking about it, you can go through 4 years of undergrad and really max out your time.
Yep.
You may not have been able to do it. Let's say you were the student that found balance across all 4 years and you didn't go and do everything that came across your desk. Well, maybe you find at the end, like, you know what? I had a great 4 years. I didn't do everything that I wanted to do. I have the opportunity to take a year or two because there's a few things I still want to do in my life to experience, to be around, to grow into before I jump on that med school train, because once it starts, it doesn't stop.
The train is going. Yeah.
Yes. So it's very hard to get off and go do like side project. So if there's some things in your life, like I always wanted to kind of try out, work part-time at a nonprofit, or some students are like, I think I do feel like I did some shadowing, but I really don't know if I really want to do this. I want to commit my career to this in medicine. I'm going to go be a scribe for a year. And then I'll take the time to study for the MCAT. I had students say, like, I didn't want to put this MCAT study on top of my senior year because I had a thesis to do. I was taking my highest level courses of classes. I still wanted to have fun my senior year too. I don't think you should feel guilty about that either.
No.
It's a culmination of your 4 years. You want to build in some fun time and do stuff with your friends. And so I didn't want to layer on that pressure of studying for the MCAT and preparing to submit my application. That's a lot to kind of fold on top of really a second semester of your senior year. So some students like, I'm going to kind of move that to the following year kind of thing. I'm going to move the MCAT and the application to the next. It really depends. It's kind of a cop-out answer, but it really does depend on what the situation is and what that student's kind of goals and intentions are. And so it does come with it. But sometimes I hear parents say, like, are you sure about this? Like, they don't know enough? I'm like, well, it's pretty common, but if you're okay with them being back at home, if that's the situation, like it's quite common. And just as long as they're not just living in your basement for a year playing, Call of Duty or something all day long, then, that's not meaningful. But if they're out like working part-time as a scribe and maybe they want to volunteer at the local something or other, because they wanted to get involved in the community that way, and they're studying for the MCAT part-time, that's kind of typical. Yeah.
So everyone hears it, right? Needing to take a gap year, wanting to take a gap year. It's not like a judgment on you as a person or as a candidate, right? People take this path differently. There's no one linear way to do it.
Yeah. And to come back to the student that's coming right out of undergrad, you are being evaluated. We have expectations for how students will be when they come to med school. We talked about executive functioning being one of those areas that we're really trying to kind of key in on a little bit, because those are some basic skills that we have expectations for our students. And so we will kind of expect, if you're coming out of undergrad and that you've checked your email and you know how to, balance your calendar and those kind of things, because sometimes those are growth areas that happens to people when they're doing these growth years or bridge years or gap years. They're maybe a little more off on their own. They're paying their rent. They're feeding themselves.
Yep.
It's the first time doing that, balancing, paying bills and that kind of stuff. And going to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, like having to get up and be someplace at 8 o'clock in the morning till 5. I've had people tell me, they're like, oh my God, this really sucks. I'm like, yeah, that's what work is. That's how most people work after.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Or shift work.
That makes me think. I think it was last week, I got an email from one of our recent grads who just had their white coat ceremony. They're just starting medical school. And I got to know her really well while she was here. She's so lovely. And she was just telling me, so excited about the white coat ceremony. And then kind of tacked in there in the middle of all of this was, people here have families. They have mortgages. Like I'm the youngest person I've met so far. I'm like, that'll do it. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So there's a lot of expectations. So that's one thing that admissions, I think we work really hard, not just Case, but a lot of my friends at other schools work really hard to try to measure with somebody's coming out of undergrad. Are they ready for this? It may look like it in their GPA, but there's all the other components that kind of wrap around a person that maybe they're not ready in another place to level up to this, to be at this level. But academically you'd think they will be, but there's other aspects that, like, I don't know, like they're just not there yet. Yeah. And because when you struggle in med school, it's tough. Yeah. And there's the same struggles you have in undergrad can happen again in med school.
Yeah. And nobody wants that for you. Nobody wants that. Your undergrad faculty members don't want it for you. Your pre-med advisors don't want it for you. Your faculty in medical school certainly don't want it for you.
Yeah. Hopefully that helps. Yeah. What else? Anything else on your rapid fire list?
Ooh, I mean, I think we've hit the things that I was like really concerned about, hearing from you. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, I think that might be it.
Well, this has been fantastic. I'm really, 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 really glad that I reached out to you, and thank you for responding to my email.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. I'm excited you reached out. Thank you.
Well, Alexis, I'm grateful. I couldn't do this. Have these kind of conversations. It would just be one side if it was just me talking the whole time. I really value the other voices that agreed to come on and talk about this topic with me. So thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your day.
Yeah, no, thanks for including, pre-health advisors in your conversation. Like, we're having these conversations with students all the time, and it's so important. So I appreciate it. Yeah.
And especially grateful because I know there are people that listen to my podcast who don't have people like you in their life. And this is maybe an extension of the work that you do as helping people that don't have access to an Alexis or other pre-health advisors. So it really is, I'm thankful for them. I'm saying thank you to you from them.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll see you around campus. Thank you so much.
Yeah, maybe I'll bump into you at the health education campus soon.
That'd be great. All right, see ya.
All right.
Psst. Hey, real quick before you go, if you found this episode helpful, I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to this show. Wherever you listen to podcasts, hit the subscribe button. Just know that your subscription helps more aspiring medical students discover these episodes, therefore providing them with the insights they need and helping to build our community. And if you're feeling generous and you have a moment, please leave a review. Your reviews not only totally make my day, but they'll help other future doctors like you find this podcast and allow us to continue growing. And now that on Spotify, you can leave comments and we can kind of go back and forth and chat with each other. So I'll keep my eyes out for your comments there. Finally, as I always ask, please share this episode with a friend who's thinking about applying to med school, but maybe hasn't quite taken that first step yet. Sometimes all it takes is the right guidance to get started. See you next time.